Yes, thank you, Louis.
Yeah, of course.
Roxana called me this morning and said we're about a minute short. So right here at the end, when I say goodbye to her, before I go into that closing paragraph, I'm going to add a paragraph.
Okay.
I'm just going to wing it.
Okay, cool. So before we say we should never fear the truth.
Exactly.
Nice. I'll be watching.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Yeah, anything like that, just let me know.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was telling me because Trump's here, but I need you to know because of timing.
No, make sure.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Anytime. Such a pleasure. Let me double check on your
The pleasure's mine, believe me.
Can you look at me for a second?
Ah, shoot. Is it this one?
Yeah. I try. I do really try. I work on Ben and we laugh so much. I mean, Ben, you cannot have that worm behind your ear. I laugh with Ben a lot when I'm fixing. How are you feeling?
Much better. I tested negative 2 days ago,
Oh, that's great.
but I've got this little bit of a cough.
At this point, there's so many viruses that they are not tagged that they're even worse, I think.
My doctor called this the Los Angeles COVID. It's like, what is that? I don't know.
Any virus.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't trust any.
No.
Oh, COVID. Oh, okay. You got
Yeah, it's like, no big deal anymore. Nobody cares. Oh, may I? Thank you. I'd love it. Thank you. To deal with ISTOC's unlikely scenarios and doubts, period. We need to come up with an operational strategy and implement it, period. Hi, Bruce. I just was texting you. I couldn't agree more, Bruce. I couldn't agree more. I haven't trusted these people from the very beginning, and I just texted you that I think maybe we should ask Istok and Josh to fly up to DC. We sit in your conference room on a Saturday or Sunday, and we come up with an operational plan that we then implement. I'm tired of dealing with Istok's unlikely scenarios. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? Okay, if it happens, we'll deal with it, although it's not going to happen. You know, I'm going to tell him that when I was still at the CIA and we used to come up with an operational plan, we always had a plan B and a plan C. So let's just do that. We'll come up with plan A, B, and C and implement it. And like you, Bruce, I think that plan A should be to go to Sierra Leone. Yeah, Sierra Leone, because of your relationship there, clean the place out, and then we'll deal with the rest later. It's quite simple. Thank you, Richard. Yes. No. No. Yes. Right. See, and we have, you and I have enough experience now dealing with con men that we can spot it. I think you're right. You're right. That's it. Nothing. Nothing. It's time for us to take our destiny into our own hands here. We can make this happen. Yes, we have. He's had a year. No. Yes, it does. Yes, indeed. Exactly. And he didn't even bother to respond. See, that's the only response we need. His non-response is the response. Yes. Yeah. No, I'm done. I'm done. The fundamental difference between our position and Isha's position is he wants to hire a G5 and go there and bring all of it back at once. I think that is foolish and impossible to implement. My position is we should go back 50 times if we have to and bring it back a little bit at a time. That's it. It's really that simple. That's the difference in opinion. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I would like to get on with my life, thank you very much. $1 million would go a long way. Exactly right. I think that's the plan. You want to give him till Monday, maybe Tuesday. You know, it's a holiday week, so we can make plans for them to fly up. Yeah, they'll be gone. Agreed. And I'm going to go to New Hampshire for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so. Good. Okay. Good. Let's do it. Do you want me to send an email around and then you agree with it, or do you want to send an email and I agree with it? Okay. Good. Okay. Yeah. Good plan. Okay. Good. 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 Count me in. Yes, he told me the same thing. Not to include Josh. Right. 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 Yes, I think that's right. Okay. Oh, Bruce, forgive me. I'm sitting on the set in Miami, and we're going to start filming right now. May I call you later? Great. Thanks, Bruce. Bye-bye. Sorry. I'm ready. I'm well, thanks. How are you? Good. Good to see you. Thank you. Uh-oh, what have I done? It's this shirt. It bunches up. Okay, now I'm ready. Five today. The heck was I thinking? But I'm going to bring my son down next time. And so if we do 2 or 3, we can bang them out quickly, and then he and I can hang out. Yeah. With a new background, that's right. Delayed 4 times again. 4 times. DCA, Yeah. It was an easy flight. It always is. It's only been 2 hours, 2:15. Shoot. From Reagan? Yeah. That's the problem. That's, yeah. That's the problem. Nice. Nice. I, I could walk to Reagan in a pinch if I really had to, and I like that there are like 6 flights a day. I prefer not to have to connect, but if I must, shit. No, I talked to his wife. I talked to his mom a lot. His dad and his brother. Yeah, he doesn't want to talk to anybody. I don't blame him at all. Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Julian Assange is free. He's free and he's home in Australia with his family. Sorry. Now, my voice was raspy anyway. Julian Assange is free. He's free and he's home in Australia with his family. I'm not sure that any of us ever really thought that we'd be able to say that, at least not this year, but it's all over. and the plea agreement that Julian signed, in which he admitted to one count of conspiracy to collect and disseminate national defense information, is not at all onerous. We'll give you the details of this great and long-sought victory for transparency. I'm John Kiriakou. Welcome to the Whistleblowers. The Julian Assange case has been a difficult legal, political, and humanitarian odyssey for nearly 14 years. Julian and WikiLeaks were responsible for revealing major war crimes. The Julian Assange case has been a difficult legal, political, and humanitarian odyssey for nearly 14 years. Julian and WikiLeaks were responsible for revealing major war crimes committed by members of the U.S. military, including something that became known infamously as the collateral murder video, and that showed American helicopter gunships opening fire and murdering Iraqi civilians, including several employees of the Reuters news agency. What made official Washington very, very angry, though, was the fact that WikiLeaks also released tens of thousands of pages of American diplomatic cables. Cables that, while not revealing any sources and methods, as the intelligence community is fond of saying, nonetheless caused the State Department a great deal of embarrassment. The American government then sought to have Julian arrested on what turned out to be trumped-up sexual assault charges, causing him to seek asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he remained for years. But the Americans were relentless. After wiring the entire embassy for audio and video and spying on every single one of his visitors, they worked out a deal with the Ecuadorian government to expel Julian and to return him over to British law enforcement authorities. He spent nearly 5 years in London's notorious maximum security Belmarsh prison, awaiting likely extradition to the United States to face more than a dozen counts of espionage and 175 years in prison. But it wasn't to be. The Americans were able to save face by demanding a guilty plea to one count of conspiracy. They also got a few other trinkets in the plea deal. But the important thing is that Julian Assange is free, and WikiLeaks survives to see another day. We're joined by Misty Winston. She's a political activist, organizer, and co-host of Action for Assange. She's one of Julian's longtime supporters, and you can find more of her work on her Substack at Misty Winston. Misty, thanks so much for joining us. Misty, I'd like to start, sorry. Can I start there again? Misty, I'd like to start by getting your take on how this whole thing ended up coming together. Many of us were optimistic that in the end Julian would win this thing, but I don't think anybody saw it the way it eventually resolved itself. What were your initial thoughts on Julian's decision to take a plea and then his subsequent return to Australia? Amen to that. Julian's wife, Stella Assange, released a statement to the public asking for privacy and for understanding as Julian reacclimates to freedom and really gets to know his sons. And who can blame her? What do you think comes next for him after that? I would have to assume that travel's out of the question. He's already banned from the Five Eyes countries, the US, UK, Canada, New Zealand, for the next 25 years. What do you expect him to do now that he's in Australia? I've long promoted WikiLeaks as the only place where would-be national security whistleblowers can go and have their identities protected. God knows that many who have gone to the media, and especially to The Intercept, for example, have been found out and prosecuted and imprisoned. Is WikiLeaks still that place to go? Is that where whistleblowers should go? Continuing along the same thread, WikiLeaks, of course, is not the same organization that it was 10 years ago. Most of the people who were with Julian at the very beginning are no longer there. A lot of them went into academia or just on to do other things, journalism or whatever. WikiLeaks is more of a confederation, let's say, than a centralized organization. So where do you think it goes from here? Or where should it go from here? Does it rebuild? Does it break up? Or does it just keep on pushing forward? Thank you, Misty. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the mechanics of Julian Assange's plea deal. So stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up. Ready? Did it do it again? What do I do wrong? Okay. Sure. Now sit down. Thanks. Okay. Welcome back to The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. We're speaking with Misty Winston. She's a political activist, organizer, and co-host of Action for Assange. She's one of Julian's longtime supporters, and you can find more of her work on her Substack at Misty Winston. Thanks again for joining us, Misty. Misty, I'd like to get into the plea deal itself. Julian took a plea to 1 count of conspiracy and was sentenced to time served. In my view, that is actually a major victory. He faced 175 years in prison in the United States. There was no fine, there was no restitution, there's no federal probation, which is now called supervised release. And another important aspect is that Julian was never extradited to the United States. He was instead processed in Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands near Australia. What did the U.S. get out of this other than the ability to just save face by trumpeting a conviction? One of the things that is fascinating to me, and it doesn't seem to be getting much press coverage, is a proviso in the plea agreement that WikiLeaks must destroy all of the unpublished information provided by Chelsea Manning. That information actually is still in WikiLeaks' possession, and much of it is on the WikiLeaks website. What do you make of that, especially in light of the fact that the Manning download was mirrored hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times, and is still all over the internet? One of the things that the plea agreement didn't even address was the Vault 7 and Vault 8 revelations. Those have been described as the crown jewels of the CIA, the most sensitive documents ever leaked from the CIA. And yet, there they are, sitting on the WikiLeaks website for everybody to see. What do you make of that? Misty, tell our viewers where they can find more of your work and where can they listen to the Misty Winston Show. Fantastic. Misty, thank you so much for being with us and for keeping the fight for press freedom. Good luck. This fight is not over, even though Julian Assange is free. The fight now goes to Washington and to revision of the Espionage Act. The Espionage Act was written in 1917 to combat German saboteurs during the Second World War. It's never been meaningfully updated. Never. It doesn't even mention the term classified information. Why? Because the classification system hadn't even been invented yet. It mentions only national defense information and then never defines what that means. That's why presidents, when they want, can use it as an iron fist to stop whistleblowers. Now, there have been measures on Capitol Hill that have not been taken terribly seriously to scrap the Espionage Act, to insert into it something called an affirmative defense that would allow people who have been accused of espionage, but who are really whistleblowers, to stand up in court and to explain to the judge and to the jury why they did what they did, to explain that what they did was in the service of the American people. That's where this fight is going now. It goes to the halls of Congress. We should never fear the truth. We should never fear the authorities. When we have truth on our sides, that's all that matters. President Franklin Roosevelt famously said on the day after the Japanese Air Force attacked Pearl Harbor that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. He was right, and so was Julian Assange. He looked fear in the face, he took the American government's best shot, and he came out on the other side. Welcome home, Julian. I'd like to thank our guest, Misty Winston, for being with us today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us for another episode of The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. Please follow me on my Substack, @JohnKiriakou. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Yes. Okay, that sounds great. With camera 2 or camera 3. Do you want me to go now? To start nodding, I mean? Great. Thank you. Thank you.
While you're doing the interview, while you wait for the 20 seconds, if you nod during that.
That's good.
I feel like we go back and forth on
Yeah,
that,
we do.
though.
Yeah, I prefer to do it that way.
I feel like it's easier.
Yeah.
But
Thank you. Thank you very much.
In there. And yeah, this time instead of doing the nods after, we'll do the nods in
During.
between the
Yeah,
questions.
that's
I didn't
easier.
even realize that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I have some snacks if you need.
And there were like
Except
breaking stories like the Julian Assange thing.
Yeah, that is important. Everybody's through this one.
Bixen. So that's what we are now?
Bison, but yes.
Oh, bison. It is a bison.
A lot of people have said that, done that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Got here like 2 weeks ago. What's he doing?
Wheels. You remember the Cadillac Seville that had the tire in the back?
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, we had one of those boats. What now?
It still looks dark. How you doing?
Good.
Milton.
Hi, John.
I'm directing today.
Great.
Well, we're gonna do the same we did, but on the 20 seconds we have pause.
I'm going to nod.
First 5 seconds, stay.
Okay.
Then the next 10, 15 seconds, no.
Then
that way we
start
don't have to do it at the end.
Excellent. That's what we'll do. Thank you.
Just pull your shit down.
Okay.
I don't think we'll have that problem with it.
This one's a little more slim fit.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got it.
thank you. Thank you, man.
One fall like that on us, man.
Oh. Nah, I'm okay. Thanks. Okay, that's great. Thank you. To my left?
To your left. This left. Perfect.
Great.
Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Hi, sure do. Okay. Great. Ready when you are. Most citizens of most countries are patriotic, whether that's misguided or not. We all want to believe in our governments, our leaders, and their policies, and when we don't, we all want and value the right to protest, to petition our elected officials for change, to vote in free and fair elections, and to alter policies with which we disagree. We're going to tell you a story today that is going to make you angry. We're going to tell you the story of a man who became an attorney and a Middle East scholar, a man who believed in the American Constitution and the rule of law, a man who wanted to do the right thing by working to ensure that everybody has the same rights and protections as everybody else. And then it all fell apart. I'm John Kiriakou. Welcome to the Whistleblowers. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Today, I want to tell you the story of Tim John Semmerling. He was a Guantanamo defense attorney for several of the most notorious accused terrorists in modern American history. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the alleged mastermind of the September 11th attacks, Major Nidal Hassan, a member of the U.S. military who self-radicalized, launched a terrorist attack at the U.S. military base at Fort Hood, Texas, and murdered 13 people and wounded 30. And Walid bin Attash, who was considered to be al-Qaeda royalty, a murderer, and a 9/11 co-defendant. As a part of his top-secret security clearance, Tim had to promise that he would not reveal to any of these men that he also happened to be gay. Over time, Tim built a rapport with KSM and Walid. They taught him about their lives, and the group developed a level of mutual respect and trust. One day, Walid gave him a warning, saying this: "One day, all of you on this defense team will turn against one another. You Americans devote your lives to prestige, fame, and money. You will turn against each other in the end just to get that for yourselves." In the end, that's actually what happened. The lead attorney and her assistant began plotting against the other defense attorneys in an attempt to make themselves indispensable. They began bullying, gaslighting and scapegoating the other attorneys on the team. This was all, of course, at the expense of the clients, who would be on trial for their lives. When Tim vocalized his concerns about this misconduct, the attorneys turned on him, and they told the al-Qaeda leaders that he was gay, saying ridiculously that he was lusting after them. The Pentagon quickly fired him from the defense team. But then something unexpected happened. Walid bin Attash, supposedly one of the most dangerous and murderous men in the world, leapt to Tim's defense. He wrote a letter to the judge exposing the other lawyers' lies. The other defense attorneys protested and brought additional problems to the case that we'll discuss in a minute. But what is this newfound and so-called lavender scare that lives at the Pentagon? And how is it that al-Qaeda comes to the defense of a gay American man when the American government tries to destroy him? I'd like to welcome Dr. Tim John Semmerling, attorney, Middle East scholar, and author. Tim, thanks for being with us. Tim, I'd like to start with your background and qualifications to take on a position like Guantanamo defense attorney. You're not just an attorney, but you're also a Middle East expert. So tell us about your life, your education, and your progression to this important position. How did you get involved specifically in the defense of Guantanamo defendants? Was this something that you sought out, or was it something that found you, so to speak? What was it like at first being in the room with some of the most dangerous men in the world? How long did it take you to build a relationship of trust? And how did that relationship develop? Powerful. You've written a book about this whole experience called My Enemy, My Defender, which is being published by Skyhorse Publishing in New York. In the book, you talk about the backbiting and difficult relationships that the Guantanamo defense attorneys have with each other. Tell us about that dynamic and about why those relationships are so difficult. Thank you, Tim. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to ask Tim Semmerling about how things changed for him at Guantanamo and about why the enormous Pentagon bureaucracy also turned against him. Stay tuned. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks, Richard.
It's a little cooler out here now.
Yeah, you know, I was sweating because my blood sugar dropped so low.
You feel better?
Mm-hmm, much. It's normal again. You saw that? It was just like that. It was crazy. Welcome back to the Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. Did I jump the gun? Okay. Welcome back to the Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. We're speaking with Tim John Semmerling. He's an attorney, Middle East expert, former Guantanamo defense attorney, and the author of the new book, My Enemy, My Defender. Thanks again for being with us, Tim. Tim, there are several issues that I'd like to raise with you. First, I want to talk about the hostility of these Guantanamo defense attorneys that you've written and spoken about. You write that the hostility and jealousy are systemic. It's not just the attorneys. You say in the book that this hostility extends to the judges, and indeed, it's throughout the entire system. Can you tell us about that? A very interesting point that you make is that what this behavior, what this systemic attitude amounts to is a continuation of something known as the Lavender Scare. And there are several parts to this point. You say the Pentagon scapegoats LGBTQ Americans to preserve its own power, that it weaponizes sexuality, that it makes an assumption that LGBTQ employees are somehow a higher security risk, which of course they are not, and that the policy forces people to out themselves. Give us some more detail here. Is the situation really that malignant? Another facet of the book, Tim, is that it's not just an account of your personal experience. It's a warning to others. You say that you want the country to know what the government is doing against its own citizens, its LGBTQ citizens, and to empower them to refuse, resist, and fight back. You also say that you want to inspire them to defy and to challenge bullies. What has the response been to those two desires, both from the Pentagon and from the people that you're trying to reach and to help? One final thought about Guantanamo, Tim. Almost none of the Guantanamo prisoners have faced trial, and most have not even faced a military tribunal. Will there ever be justice, either for those being unjustly held at Guantanamo or for the families of the people killed by those at Guantanamo who were actually responsible for 9/11 and other attacks? Well, I've read the book, and I can tell you that it is absolutely true. Terrific interview. Thank you for your insights, Tim. Karl Heinrich Ulrichs is known as the very first gay man to publicly announce his sexual identity. Born in Germany in 1825, his coming out was a historic watershed event. He said, quote, "I am proud that I have found the courage to deal the initial blow to the hydra of public contempt," unquote. Those are powerful words. And yet here we are 200 years later, and the hydra of discrimination, hatred, and contempt still has not been slain. Indeed, it's alive and well, and it's living in the Pentagon. I'd like to thank our guest, Tim John Semmerling, for being with us today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us for another episode of The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. Please follow me on Substack at John Kiriakou, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. So the next 3 are with the new set. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, that means I got to put pants on.
Did you get to sit in that comfy chair? Are you using
Well, that's true. I get to sit in that comfy chair.
There you go. Thank you. Oh, they were quick. It's already up. Take a look, see?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
It's like a basement.
looks good. And now I'm skinny enough to be able to cross my legs.
Impeccable timing. Sorry. All right, we're going to. I'm gonna pull. Can we pull your shirt out of the back? And then we'll do it.
Well, that's the thing now, dude.
Richard,
You
what?
can make money that way, shit.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if I scratched. We're it.
But like, that's just like most porn stars. Most porn stars are married. Like that's
Middle-aged guy, you could.
No, I just mean like, if your partner. I'm like, no, if your partner does that and your partner makes money, you get nothing but benefits.
I don't know, but
Couldn't live with myself.
Slap some teacups on yourself and you can make it.
I'm sure that there would be a market for that.
There is.
Santos already has a page, doesn't he? George Santos.
Yeah, but he said he won't go naked. So what's the point of having an OnlyFans?
The highest paid person on OnlyFans is a young woman in like Sweden or Denmark or something. She's never gotten naked on her channel. She reads and like does laundry and like folds her clothes. She just wears lingerie. She's beautiful. She is wearing underwear, but she's never got naked.
What the heck?
My old roommate's girlfriend.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
Are you kidding? And so people pay money to watch that, just to watch a stranger go about their normal business. You know,
People make a living eating food on YouTube.
I went to Hong Kong a few weeks ago, and I went with a bunch of technology experts, and 95% of what they talk about, I don't understand anything they're saying. They were talking about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And I said, oh, you know, I always said, I thought that was a scam, right? You have a drawing of an angry gorilla or whatever. It was a scam. He said, you'd be surprised. Most of it was a scam. But he said, for example, your first book, he said, do you have a copy of the draft with like notations in the margins? I said, of course. I saved it as a souvenir. And he said, you can sell an NFT of the cover artwork of the book and throw in the draft with the notations. He said, I bet I could get you $50,000 for that. I said, are you out of your mind? So now I'm like in the garage rooting around looking for the draft.
There's an NFT thing.
Yeah.
Someone wanted to put my work up on NFT, but then I was told that. Yeah. How does it look on the gym? Once you sit down. With something like a photograph, the wardrobe stylist could sue me, the photographer could sue me,
Oh.
anyone else that was involved in that photograph,
Oh.
if they're not involved in it.
I see.
I thought that was something.
The whole concept, I still don't understand.
I did it with the photographer. We'd have to go in together. We're going to sell this.
At the end when they shoot that shot. Well, because we're going to put the guest over the poster, so we'll shoot over his shoulder, so we'll just have to remove his IFB cables off the back. It's going to be at the end. It's just going to be for some fake reaction shot to him talking to the guest.
Oh, okay. So as we're done shooting, we'll essentially do the nods.
Yeah, the nods, but from behind. So
Okay, so take just the IFB out.
we'll just take the cables off his back. It's going to be we're going to be shooting this shoulder.
Red.
the chair this way, he's gonna shoot off. since you're in that chair, you do your intro. When you face to ask the question, you have to swing the whole chair. I don't know if you want to practice or whatever. It's going to be easier for you, or we do a separate.
Oh, well, I'm happy
You
to
can
practice.
turn your head first, and then you share.
Whatever you think is
Because the cameras are far
the
apart.
best
You're going
thing to
from
work.
here all the way to there, so
Okay.
there's no way you can bend your neck all the way. You have
No,
to
yeah,
actually
you're right.
do the share.
Okay. Yeah,
Cool.
we can do it.
If you don't feel good with it, we'll just
Oh, no, I'm
take
sure.
that one separate.
It'll be easy,
We'll
I'm
do
sure.
this and edit.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's why they call me One Take John.
That is what they call you, right?
Yeah, right.
But only at work. But I'm fine.
That's right.
We don't want to blow your head out. This doesn't really matter to me, but just so you know, at the end when you're doing your reactions and everything, it will be shot over the shoulder from this one. So
Okay.
I'm gonna take off
The
IFB,
stuff.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be here. And then I turn like this. Thanks, Richard. So I'm going to be doing this, talking to this camera, and then I can turn like this. Yeah? Should I have my leg crossed, or should I just be sitting like this? Okay. Yeah. It's sitting like this, the turn is much easier. Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, this poor bastard. Oh, shit. Let me go change. No, you're right. No, yeah, I brought long socks and I just didn't change them. My fault. Roll them down? Okay. Falling apart here. Rick, where's his up?
Yeah.
Okay. I know, right? There we go.
Men need help with. Sorry, I
Got
have
it.
some nails. I don't do it with buttons, but I will put
Yeah, sorry, both of these are dangling. Yeah. Thanks. Great. Great. I'm ready then. Thank you. So another thing, should I sit up in the chair like this or should I sit back?
I think it's better to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they wanted more lax than laid back.
I don't know. I don't know, tell you the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Like I need, if they had like a pillow to kind of push me forward, that would work. But I can just sit up like this. Nah, that's okay. Yeah, this. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. No, thank you. Excited to get these done. Oh, thank you. No, that's going to work. Oh yeah, that's going to work. Oh, that's perfect. That is perfect. Thank you. Definitely. Mm-hmm. You know, I got to say, I'm surprised they have a picture of Vindman right here, since he's the anti-Russia, pro-Ukraine whistleblower. I guess. There's no skin off my nose.
I mean, these are all the photos that were in the original Open.
Ah, yeah. Right. Nobody's going to notice. Nah, thanks. When we finish, I'll grab one of those cough drops I have. Yeah, this is nice. This is very nice, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Yeah. Do you mind? Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, this is going to be nice. I think just writing. Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything. Yeah. I hope so. You know, I looked like 5 days ago, and it was like a 50-50 chance of rain this evening. But summertime in Miami, 15 minutes and then it's all over. Sometimes. Uh-huh. Yesterday? Oh. Oh, shoot. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. Yeah. 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 Right. Hey, did you happen to see this viral video that's everywhere? They had torrential downpours in Arizona the other day. And there's a video of an 8-foot-long centipede. It's not real? It was disgusting. Can they? Disgusting. How big? Are you serious? From where? Oh, okay. Not like while you're sleeping or something and okay. Okay. Still disgusting. Okay. The United States has some of the worst prison conditions and the longest sentences in the Western world. The very point of incarceration in the United States is punishment. It's not to reform the offender, it's not to educate him or to prepare him for life on the outside. It's simply to punish. That's why recidivism is so high. That's why crime rates are so high. If, for example, a drug dealer gets 10 years in prison, he does the whole 10 years and gets no training, no education, counseling, therapy, and then is released, what does he go home to do? He goes home to sell drugs because that's the only thing he knows how to do. It's no wonder the entire system is in a state of chaos. I'm John Kiriakou. Welcome to the Whistleblowers. I speak and write frequently about issues related to prison reform and sentencing reform. I speak also about the human rights aspects of the American prison system and about how the United Nations considers the U.S. practice of using solitary confinement as punishment as a form of torture. In the federal prison system, which is supposed to be better than the state and local systems, hundreds of prisoners die from acts of violence every year. Others die of heat stroke because most prisons have no air conditioning, unless it's in the warden's office or the guard booths. Medical care is worse than it is in the third world. The food is not meant for human consumption. The water is, in many cases, not drinkable. What happens when a prison wants to, sorry, I made a typo. What happens when a prisoner Sure, is that okay with you? Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm liking this back. Okay. Yeah. That's okay. That was my fault. Perfect. I speak and write frequently about issues related to prison reform and sentencing reform. I speak also about the human rights aspects of the American prison system and about how the United Nations considers the U.S. practice of using solitary confinement as punishment as a form of torture. In the federal prison system, which is supposed to be better than the state and local systems, hundreds of prisoners die from acts of violence every year. Others die of heat stroke because most prisons have no air conditioning, unless it's in the warden's office or in the guard booths. Medical care is worse than it is in the third world. The food is not meant for human consumption, and in many cases, the water is not drinkable. What happens then when a prisoner wants to use his time constructively? What if he wants to get an education, or kick a drug habit, or alcohol addiction, or learn a skill? What happens when he just wants to learn how to live as an independent adult? What happens? Literally nothing. There is no budget for these luxuries. You can't get an education beyond a high school equivalency certificate. You can't learn plumbing or electrical work or mechanical repair or anything else. There's no therapy to help you beat your addiction. Nothing. So when you're released, you're given a bus ticket and $50. The rest is up to you. Our guest today has seen the ugliest parts of the American prison system. Sean McDonald has had a very difficult life. His mother committed suicide when he was 4 years old, and he was adopted. He grew up in the tough streets of South Boston, Massachusetts. He began taking heroin at the age of 16. Not a problem. Sure, sure. No problem. Take your time. Sure thing. You bet. Last night I went to sleep around 12:30. Woke up at 1:30 outside the window. I was like, seriously? And then I was like, oh, no, I'm in Brickell. Right. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Last night when I arrived, I checked into the hotel. It was like 10 or 10:15. I went to 7-Eleven just to get a couple of Gatorades. And there was a Lamborghini and a McLaren racing down 10th Street. It's like, how far are you going to go? But one block, because they're all stop signs and people crossing the street. And you're going to race a Lamborghini and a McLaren for one block on a Friday night. Why not? And how a 25-year-old guy can afford, a $500,000. Oh, they lease them.
Yeah, they save up like $2,000 and you get it for a day.
People do that?
They have a bunch of those places that rent them out.
Man, I can think of so many better ways to spend $2,000.
Me too.
Sure. Oh, that's so interesting. Oh my God. I drive an 11-year-old Mercedes C300, and I got my my registration, my new registration in the mail this week. It's only worth $6,800. $6,800. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yes, they are. Oh my God, yes. Oh yes, absolutely true. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll buy another car. Maybe I'll go back to Toyota. But even a Toyota, you're going to have to spend $40,000. That's how I do. Good. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, they're wonderful. Oh my God. See, and I'm in a predicament right now. I took it for its inspection. They said, oh, you know, it passed inspection, but you got a couple little problems. These gaskets need to be resealed. These ball bearings need to be repacked, blah, blah, blah. It's $5,800. I said, the car's only worth $6,800. I can't spend $5,800 to repair an 11-year-old car. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Fantastic. I'm ready. The United States has some of the worst prison conditions and the longest sentences in the Western world. The very point of incarceration in the United States is punishment. It's not to... The United States has some of the worst prison conditions in the world and some of the longest sentences. The very point of incarceration in the United States is punishment. It's not to reform the offender or to educate him or to prepare him for life on the outside. It's simply to punish. That's why recidivism is so high. That's why crime rates are so high. If, for example, a drug dealer gets 10 years in prison, does the whole 10 years and gets no training, education, counseling, therapy, or anything else, and then is released, what does he go home to do? He goes home to sell drugs because it's the only thing that he knows how to do. It's no wonder the entire system is in a state of chaos. I'm John Kiriakou. Welcome to the Whistleblowers. I write and speak frequently about issues related to prison reform and sentencing reform. I speak also about the human rights aspects of the American prison system and about how the United Nations considers the U.S. practice of using solitary confinement as punishment as a form of torture. In the federal prison system, which is supposed to be better than the state and local systems, hundreds of prisoners die from acts of violence every year. Others die of heat stroke because most prisons have no air conditioning, unless, of course, it's in the warden's office or in the guard booths. Medical care is worse than it is in the third world. The food is not meant for human consumption. The water is, in many cases, not drinkable. What happens when a prisoner wants to use his time constructively? What if he wants to get an education or kick a drug habit or alcohol addiction or learn a skill? What happens when he just wants to learn how to live as an independent adult? What happens? Literally nothing. There is no budget for these luxuries. You can't get an education beyond a high school equivalency certificate. You can't learn plumbing or electrical work or mechanical repair or anything else. There's no therapy to help you beat your addiction. Nothing. So when you're released, you're given a bus ticket and $50, and the rest is up to you. Our guest today has seen the ugliest parts of the American prison system. Sean McDonald has had a very difficult life. His mother committed suicide when he was 4 years old, and he was adopted. He grew up in the tough streets of South Boston, Massachusetts. He began taking heroin at the age of 16, and soon after he was convicted of bank robbery. At the young age of 20, he found himself incarcerated in one of the toughest prisons in America, the U.S. Penitentiary at Lewisburg. He spent his 20s there. Upon his release, he was out of prison for one single day before committing another crime that saw him incarcerated through his 30s in the toughest prison in the state of Massachusetts. 4 of those years were spent in solitary confinement. When he was released with that bus ticket and $50, the only thing he had to look forward to was homelessness and more drugs. But Sean McDonald did not want to become a statistic. He wanted to become a success. He straightened himself out, he kicked his drug habit, he worked hard, and he made a life for himself. That life is tough, but he's making it. We're very happy to have Sean McDonald with us today. Sean, welcome to the show. Sean, I'd like to begin by asking you to give our viewers a short overview of your life. You certainly have not had an easy time of things. The universe has not made life easy for you. So tell us about why you've been a... Tell us about why you've been arrested in the past, how long you've served in prison, and where you served that time. Amen to that. One of the first things that I learned on my very first day in prison, and you touched on this on your own, is nobody cares about you. Nobody is looking out for you. You have to think about your own nutrition, exercise, medical, dental. But is that even really possible? Is it possible to be healthy in prison? So tell us about your medical and dental care in prison. That is absolutely right. I saw the same kinds of things. Not to that scale, of course, but the same things that you did. Okay, my first full day in prison was fish day for lunch. But one of the other prisoners told me not to touch the fish. Sorry? Okay. That is absolutely right. I saw the same kinds of things. Not to that scale, of course, but the same things that you did. Okay, so my first full day in prison was fish day for lunch. But one of the other prisoners told me not to touch the fish because they called it sewer trout. When I got to the cafeteria, I saw these boxes that had written on them, Alaskan cod, product of China, not for human consumption, feed use only. And sure enough, this was animal grade food. And in fact, this is the kind of food that we were fed every single day. It was meant for animals, not for people. We were even once fed dog food by accident because it was mismarked as taco meat. And the tragedy there was that we didn't even realize it was dog food. That's how bad the normal quality was. What was your experience in prison with food? Sean, that's heartbreaking. Thank you. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to speak with Sean McDonald about the broader problems that American prisoners face in every prison. Did I screw up that turn? No. Okay. Oh, no, I appreciate it. Okay. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to speak with Sean McDonald about the broader problems that American prisoners face in every prison in America. The system is broken, and it seems that nobody in a position of authority has any idea how to fix it. Stay tuned. This fruit fly keeps flying in my face. This poor guy was they let him out of prison. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Richard. They let this guy out of prison. They told him no alcohol. As soon as they let him out, he goes straight to a bar, gets drunk, gets into a fight, and stabs two guys, and they arrest him. He wasn't even out for 6 hours. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Sure thing. From what's your experience? Sure. And then, okay. Okay. Ready. What was your experience in prison with food? Uh, mm. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Ready? Huh? Sure. Tell us about your medical and dental care in prison. Great. Great. Thank you. Welcome back to the Whistleblowers. Oh, sorry. No, that was my fault. Welcome back to the Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. We're speaking with Sean McDonald about his experience in the American prison system. Sean, thanks again for being with us. Sean, you were in two of the most dangerous and most high security prisons in America. Tell us about security in places like those. What was life like on a daily basis? And did you trust prison authorities to keep you safe? I also want to ask you about the absence of opportunities. You had no access to education, to counseling, to therapy, or to literally anything else to prepare you for life on the outside. In fact, you went directly from solitary confinement to freedom. How common was that? And what should prisons do to prepare prisoners for life? Sean, even in the low security prison that I was in, medical care was scandalous. And I want to come back to this. Our doctor had actually lost his medical license for molesting a child in a hospital that he was working in. And so they made him the prison doctor. And most prisoners were denied medical care anyway. Like you, I saw people die from a lack of medical care. In the short 23 months that I was in prison, I saw 6 people die because they had been ignored by the medical unit. What was your personal experience like? You must have had health issues over such a long period of time in prison. How did you deal with those health issues? Finally, Sean, If you were the director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, what changes would you implement to turn things around? And tell us what's next for you in life. Well, God bless. I wish you the very, very best. Bernard Kerik is the former police commissioner of New York City. He found himself serving a prison term after a conviction for corruption. And we got out of, sorry, my screw up. When he, yeah, and I banged the chair anyway. Bernard Kerik is the former police commissioner of New York City. He found himself serving a prison term after a conviction for corruption. And when he got out of prison, he said this, and forgive me, it's a little bit long, quote, "Don't promote yourself as a country of constitutionality and compassion if you honestly believe that putting people in prison and treating them like animals is justified. Stop all the hype that we live in a free and democratic society. I used to ramble on about the same stuff, but now, are we really a country that believes in fairness and compassion? I've met good men, yes, good men in prison who made mistakes out of stupidity or ignorance, greed, or just plain bad judgment. But they did not need to be sent to prison to be punished. 18 months for catching too many fish, 2 years for inflating income on a mortgage application, 3 months for selling a whale's tooth on eBay, 15 years for a first-time nonviolent drug conspiracy in which no drugs were ever found or seized. There are thousands of people like these in our prisons today, costing American taxpayers billions of dollars when these individuals could be punished in smarter, alternative ways. Our courts are over-punishing decent people who make mistakes, and our prisons have no rewards or incentives for good behavior. In this alone, criminal justice and prison systems contradict their own mission statements," unquote. I'd like to thank our guest, Sean McDonald, for being with us today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us for another episode of The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. Please follow me on Substack at John Kiriakou. We'll see you next time. Thank you. That was easy, and this is a beautiful set. Great. Okay. At the photo. Okay. Okay. Whatever. Okay. If I'm pointed toward the photo and looking at the monitor, does that look okay to you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You did just the last one? How did you? Yeah, sure. Sure. Okay. Yep. How did you deal with those health issues? Okay, ready? And tell us what's next for you. Oh, honestly, whatever's better for you guys, I'm happy to do it. Oh, yeah, no, it seems good to me. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay.
You can stay sitting.
Okay. Oh, thanks. This guy was in. He was in juvie from 16 to 20. He was in the feds from 20 to 30. He was in state from 30 to 40. And then he was in the feds again from 40 to 50. Yeah. He's 50 years old, and he had been in prison since he was 16. He said on his very first day in federal prison, this guy came up and asked if he was a boy. That's code for, I'm going to rape you. Are you going to fight back? And he said he stabbed him in the chest and killed him. So he spent the next year and a half in solitary. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, so how did that work out for you? So how's your job doing landscaping now? That works out? Excellent. Oops. Sorry. He and I talked about that, and I said, I don't know how people got that idea. And he said, it's slightly less terrible than state prison, but this notion of club fed, like, where'd that come from? Oh, no, no, they're not. Oh, of course, not.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, two more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm laughing. But something about that's a little funny. I mean, it's not funny. That's not funny at all. But it's like you'd think like Disney or Pfizer. There's like plenty of other corporations that you would think. Oh, wait, that's my finger.
So check this out. You know how Chiquita Banana started as a company?
Yeah. No, I don't.
It started as a railroad.
Oh.
So this rich guy from Boston
Okay.
bought all this land.
It's always an asshole from Boston. Just kidding.
He bought all this land in, I think it was Honduras, to build a railroad from the capital to the coast. And he was like, what are these things that are growing on the trees here?
Nobody knew what a banana
I
was.
said, oh, it's called a banana. In America, we didn't know what those were. So he eats one, he's like, oh my God, this is delicious.
That's funny.
So he decided that
What year was this?
1880 something.
To think about the fact that there weren't bananas here
Right.
before the 1900s almost.
Yes. So he decided to grow bananas all along the railroad and then ship them to the coast so he could put them on boats and sell them in America.
Okay.
And Americans are like, holy shit, these are delicious. So then he bought more and more and more land to the point where he owned most of the country. And
Growing bananas.
yeah, and that's what gave rise to the term Banana Republic. It's crazy, right?
I know that story. I feel like it's a little less surprising that he funded it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's pretty nuts.
We're all eating dirty bananas.
You know, when I was
Blood money bananas.
when I first lived in Greece, bananas were outlawed.
Why?
Like there was a specific law that banned bananas because they said that they came from tropical places and they would bring tropical diseases. So no bananas.
Places, there are some places that do say that, like, no, we're going to try and do it this way, that way maybe, there you go. You
Yep.
want to just stick that in your ear, and then nobody will have to, won't have to remove, we won't have to edit.
Terrific. Oh yeah, terrific. Great idea.
Oh, even better, good, okay. I don't know, we got to Miami, I started getting lazy.
I'm Mr. Corner Cutter. I am.
Yeah, work smart, not hard.
That's right.
This should be easier, all the way around.
Excellent.
There's some water, some
Thank
water
you.
before we start.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
We'll just make sure that the only thing is now if it's not attached, it might swing. You're good, you don't.
Okay.
This just might
Ah,
swing a little bit.
thank you.
Look at that piece of tape in your hair.
Tape?
Yeah, that piece of tape.
How'd that happen? Doggone it.
Need some water?
No, I didn't think I did, but maybe now I do. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, good, thanks. Great. Great. Thank you. Yeah, they're sitting on my jeans. Thank you, I appreciate it. Doggone it. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's the only thing that's lingering from this doggone. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And I had to order them from Australia. Yeah. No, it's like elderberry. Great. Okay, thank you. I'm ready. Okay. A jury in South Florida has held that Chiquita Brands, the purveyors of Chiquita bananas, is liable for 8 killings carried out by a right-wing paramilitary group that the company helped to finance in a fertile banana growing region of Colombia during that country's decades-long civil conflict. The jury ordered Chiquita to pay $38.3 million to 16 family members of farmers and other civilians who were killed in separate incidents by the so-called United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, a right-wing paramilitary group that Chiquita bankrolled from 1997 to 2004. The company still faces hundreds of similar lawsuits in courts across America, but this is the first one that has resulted in a jury verdict. The company said that it would appeal. It did not say, however, how it could reconcile the fact that the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, which the State Department lists as a foreign terrorist group, and Chiquita Brands entered into an agreement whereby the company transferred $1.7 million to the terrorists. I'm John Kiriakou. Welcome to The Whistleblowers. Chiquita is the modern iteration of a notorious predecessor known as the United Fruit Company. The United Fruit Company once owned nearly 2 million acres of land in Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Belize, and along the coast of Colombia. It was the largest landowner and the largest employer in Central America for more than 50 years, and it had the power and authority to overthrow governments. Indeed, with members of its board of directors that included President Dwight Eisenhower's Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles, and his brother, CIA Director Alan Dulles, the United Fruit Company was able to overthrow the Guatemalan government and replace it with a pro-American military dictatorship in 1954. That solidified the company's preeminence over the Central American economy and gave rise to the term Banana Republic. Although the United Fruit Company was a party to a number of mergers, acquisitions, buyouts, and name changes over the years, it remained a powerhouse in the region, as well as the largest employer and landowner. A series of strikes through the 1970s and 1980s weakened its grip on political power somewhat, but as it turned out, corporate leaders decided to continue operating on the dark side. Executives admitted to the U.S. Justice Department in 2007 that the company had financed a Colombian terrorist group, and it paid a $25 million fine at the time. The saga is not over, however. Juries across America in the coming years will hear more and more testimony about Chiquita, the damage that it's done to Central American communities and families, and its cooperation with and financing of terrorist groups. We're very happy to be joined today by Professor Terry Carl. She's the Gildred Professor of Latin American Studies and Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Stanford University. She earned her bachelor's and master's degrees as well as her PhD from Stanford. Dr. Carl is the recipient of several of the most important academic prizes bestowed by the university and has served as the expert witness in other notorious human rights trials. For example, the murder of Archbishop Oscar Romero, now a Catholic saint, and the massacre of El Mozote, the largest massacre in Latin America in contemporary history. She received the Rio Branco Prize from the Brazilian President Fernando Henrique Cardoso in recognition of her work in fostering academic relations between the United States and Latin America. Dr. Carl, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the history of the United Fruit Company, I want to ask you about this most recent news. Okay. 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 So turn and then Dr. Carl. Okay. Okay. Dr. Carl, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the history of the United Fruit Company, I want to ask you about the most recent news about a jury finding Chiquita liable for the deaths of 8 Colombians. Can you explain this to us? Why in the world would a fruit company be involved with a terrorist group, let alone be financing that terrorist group? And why was it found liable in these deaths? And why was it found liable in these deaths? This federal court decision strikes me as a very important development in that there are hundreds of such cases pending. Yeah, sorry about that. This federal court decision strikes me as a very important development in that there are hundreds of such cases pending in federal district courts around the country. This is the first one that has gotten as far as a jury verdict. And even if the company appeals, which it says it will, the decision sets a precedent for the other cases. Tell us how important this verdict was and what are people saying about it in Colombia and elsewhere in Latin America? You touched on these other cases around the country. Are they essentially the same? Chiquita has admitted that it paid $1.7 million to these death squads. The death squads then wantonly killed people, and the company must take responsibility. Is that essentially what these cases are? Mm-hmm. Is that essentially what these cases are? Chiquita certainly is not the only fruit company in Latin America. Did other companies do what Chiquita is accused of doing? Did they associate themselves with paramilitary groups or other malign characters? Thank you, Terry. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to speak with Professor Terry Carl about the history. Okay. Thank you, Terry. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to speak with Professor Terry Carl about the history of the United Fruit Company. Sorry. Thank you, Terry. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to speak with Professor Terry Carl about the history of the United Fruit Company in Latin America. How can a private company accumulate so much power and authority that it can overthrow governments? Stay tuned. Good. Thank you. Welcome back to the Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. We're speaking with Professor Terry Carl. She's the Gildred Professor of Latin American Studies and Professor of Political Science Emeritus at Stanford University, and is the recipient of several of the most important and prestigious academic prizes bestowed by the university. She also received the Rio Branco Prize from Brazilian President Fernando Henrique Cardoso in recognition of her work in fostering academic relations between the United States and Latin America. Thanks again for being with us, Professor. Chiquita and its predecessor company, the United Fruit Company, have worked with repressive regimes and terrorist groups for a century. They were the most powerful force in all of Latin America in the 1950s, and they even overthrew governments. They were also credibly accused of using slave labor to work on the banana plantations in Guatemala. How is a company like this still in business? It seems to me that if this were a government, it would have been overthrown decades ago. What do you think? What do you think? Take us back to the early days of the United Fruit Company. It actually began as a railroad, expanded into bananas only because one of the original investors ate one, thought it was delicious, and decided to plant them. And then the company really took off by transporting its own bananas on what was a monopoly railroad. It took decades for this to happen. Why was there no regulation or oversight at the time? Is it because it was an American company working in a region with certain governments? I'm interested in how, from a legal perspective, this was permitted to happen, even in early to mid 20th century America. The ethical problems just scream out. The involvement in the United Fruit Company, for example, of the Dulles brothers. And as another example, the brother of President Eisenhower's secretary is so obviously unethical and probably illegal. How is it allowed to happen? Okay. Okay. The involvement in the United Fruit Company of the Dulles brothers, and as another example, the brother of President Eisenhower's secretary, is so obviously unethical and probably illegal. How was that allowed to happen? Is agriculture and are companies like Chiquita as important in Latin America today as they were in the past? Terry, thank you for your insights into this case. The novelist J.K. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter, once wrote, "Have you any idea how much..." Okay. Okay. No problem. Okay. Like at the phone. Thank you, Terry, for your insights into this case. The novelist J.K. Rowling, the creator of Harry Potter, once wrote, quote, "Have you any idea how much tyrants fear the people they oppress? All of them realize that one day, amongst their many victims, there is sure to be one that rises against them and strikes back," unquote. That is what has happened to Chiquita, and it looks like the best is yet to come. I'd like to thank our guest, Professor Terry Carl, for being with us today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us for another episode of The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. Please follow me on Substack at John Kiriakou. We'll see you next time. Great. Thank you. Fantastic. Do you need the over-the-shoulder shots, or are those the ones we did? Yeah, we still need the over-the-shoulder.
So it doesn't need to be seen.
Okay.
If you want to turn that way. I don't know if they're okay with that, or if I should take it off because it was off in the last one.
I don't know. Do you want me to ask? I'm sorry, there was some interference. Can you say that again? Asking the question? Oh, yeah. Right, so does this make you want to stop eating bananas? I find them to be very delicious, but now I only buy Dole bananas from Hawaii. Union-made bananas. Okay, thank you.
You did great.
That's right. No more Chiquita for me.
We used to have a neighbor whose name was Chiquita.
Really?
Yes.
I still remember the jingle from when I was a little kid. I'm Chiquita Banana, and I'm here to say I'm the best banana in the world today. It's not Chiquita on the label. It's not Chiquita on your table.
There you go.
Wait till the next story.
Oh, yes.
You want to hear something?
Oh, sorry.
Wait till the next story.
Oh, good. I love your episodes. Do we have Louie down here? I thought it would.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Or it never feels as long. I will say. Well, I don't know what other people. I do it. I enjoy my job.
Good.
I should never complain
good.
about it.
Everybody is.
Got a good group of. Sorry, got a good group of people here.
Right.
But everybody here is really friendly.
They are. They are. I can't believe I thought
What? I don't know that guy. I've never had the unfortunate.
I didn't like him. I didn't trust him.
I feel like maybe I had gone to work with my dad a few times. Like, I feel like maybe once. But I also know that it was always Tamisha's demise that the children were coming into work and stuff. He didn't want anybody extra.
Oh, jeez. Are you kidding me? What a baby.
Yeah, if only he would have known that 15 years later.
Yeah. You're going to be running the place. Uh-huh. Thanks. Oh, I think it's going to be exciting. Yeah, for sure. He's 19, yeah. He's never been to Miami. So he asked me if we could stay in South Beach. On the expensive side, that's for sure. But that's okay.
Hey, it's a good experience.
I think so too.
Can you I was going to say, can you pull this part of the shirt? Just perfect.
Okay, thanks. I gotcha. Awesome, thank you. I wonder why she called it that. Great, I'm ready when you guys are. Thanks. Last one. Almost nobody on Earth can get through a single day of news without reading or hearing of some new development related to artificial intelligence. And if you follow the business pages, much of that news is about AI and the enormous companies like NVIDIA, Apple, Alphabet, Meta, Taiwan Semiconductor, and others that actually develop it. Perhaps you've even experimented a little with AI. Maybe it has helped you write a paper or a letter or a thank you note. But what exactly is artificial intelligence? What is it supposed to do? And how exactly is it going to change our lives? I'm John Kiriakou. Welcome to the Whistleblowers. The first time I ever heard of a workable form of artificial intelligence was in 2022 when I read a fascinating and frightening article about an American tech blogger named Lucas Risotto. Risotto decided to recreate a childhood imaginary friend that he had years earlier using AI. The friend was a microwave oven that he called Magnetron. To do this, he purchased a microwave and merged it with GPT-3, a text-based artificial intelligence system developed by the company OpenAI. GPT-3 mimics human language, creating original sentences when prompted. To populate its brain, OpenAI fed GPT-3 vast amounts of data, everything from Wikipedia to newspaper articles to Reddit posts. Risotto then programmed it with a backstory, which he described as a 100-page book detailing every moment of Magnetron's imaginary life. He then programmed it to turn on when he gave it a command, and he began conversing with it. He later described those conversations as both beautiful and eerie. Why? It was because the microwave actually sounded like a real person, and it sometimes had bursts of anger. At one point, the microwave demanded that Risotto put his head inside it so that the microwave could kill him. When Risotto pretended to do so, the microwave actually turned itself on. That was 2 years ago, and 2 years is a lifetime in the world of artificial intelligence. Now, many of us who are not tech wizards are struggling with news and discussions about AI and its relation to things like predictive modeling, adaptive control, generative AI, even something called neural networks and something called hive mind. That doesn't even touch on things like deepfakes, which already are causing a stir in elections around the world. How big of an impact is AI going to have on our daily lives? We'll try to get an answer to that question from our next guest. Sean O'Brien is a subject matter expert in cybersecurity, privacy, Web3, and free and open source software called FOSS. Sean is a visiting lecturer at Yale Law School, where he teaches cybersecurity and where he founded the... Damn it, I made it all that way. Doggone it. He founded like a moron. Okay. Thanks. The first time I ever heard of a workable form of artificial intelligence was in 2022 when I read a fascinating and frightening article about an American tech blogger named Lucas Risotto. Risotto decided to recreate a childhood imaginary friend that he had had years earlier using AI. The friend was a microwave oven that he called Magnetron. To do this, he purchased a microwave and merged it with GPT-3, a text-based artificial intelligence system developed by the company OpenAI. GPT-3 mimics human language, creating original sentences when prompted. To populate its brain, OpenAI fed GPT-3 vast amounts of data, everything from Wikipedia to newspaper articles to Reddit posts. Risotto then programmed it with a backstory, which he described as a 100-page book detailing every moment of Magnetron's imaginary life. He then programmed it to turn on when he gave it a command, and he began conversing with it. He later described those conversations as both beautiful and eerie. Why? It was because that fucking microwave. See, this always happens in the last one of the day, because I get excited to leave. I'm thinking about what kind of sushi I'm going to buy. The microwave tried to kill him. And when it thought that his head was inside, it turned itself on. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Ready when you are. The first time I ever heard of a workable form of artificial intelligence was in 2022 when I read a fascinating and frightening article about an American tech blogger named Lucas Risotto. Risotto decided to recreate a childhood imaginary friend that he had had years earlier using AI. The friend was a microwave oven that he called Magnetron. To do this, he purchased a microwave and merged it with GPT-3, a text-based artificial intelligence system developed by the company OpenAI. GPT-3 mimics human language, creating original sentences when prompted. To populate its brain, OpenAI fed GPT-3 vast amounts of data, everything from Wikipedia to newspaper articles to Reddit posts. Risotto then programmed it with a backstory, which he described as a 100-page book detailing every moment of Magnetron's imaginary life. He then programmed it to turn on when he gave it a command, and he began conversing with it. He later described those conversations as both beautiful and eerie. Why? It was because the microwave actually sounded like a real person, and it sometimes had bursts of anger. At one point, the microwave demanded that Risotto put his head inside so that the microwave could kill him. When Risotto pretended to do so, the microwave actually turned itself on. That was 2 years ago, and 2 years is a lifetime in the world of artificial intelligence. Now, many of us who are not tech wizards are struggling with news and discussions about AI and its relation to things like predictive modeling, adaptive control, generative AI, even neural networks and something called hive mind. And that doesn't even touch on things like deepfakes, which already are causing a stir in elections around the world. How big of an impact is AI going to have on our daily lives? We'll try to get an answer to that question from our next guest. Sean O'Brien is a subject matter expert in cybersecurity, privacy, Web3, and free and open source software called FOSS. Sean is a visiting lecturer at Yale Law School, where he teaches cybersecurity and where he founded the Privacy Lab Initiative. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Panquake, recently launching the Panquake Me link cleaning, shortening, and archiving service. Sean developed a Web3 and blockchain class at Yale, as well as hacking and cybersecurity at the Lawfare Institute, and was founding head tutor at Oxford University's Cybersecurity for Business Leaders. Sean's expertise has appeared in the New York Times, Forbes magazine, Bloomberg, Popular Science, the Associated Press, NBC News, the Financial Times, Wired, and the New Yorker. Sean, thanks so much for being with us. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Oh, was I? It didn't say go to 3 in the script. Okay. It's a pleasure. I think the best place to start is with the very, sorry. Okay. Okay. It's a pleasure. I think the best place to start is with the very basics of AI. Can you tell us what is AI? When did technologists begin to develop it? And to what end? Do you want me to? Yeah. Can you tell us what exactly is AI? When did technologists begin to develop it? And to what end? I had no idea that it's been around so long. Okay, Sean, the technology is developing and advancing at lightning speed, it seems. Is it possible to rein it in? Is it possible to regulate it? And maybe an even better question is, are governments equipped or smart enough to get a handle on AI? Let's get into some of the more complicated aspects of AI. We hear terms that I have no understanding of, like predictive modeling, adaptive control, generative AI. Can you tell us what these terms mean and what the uses are for these technologies? Can you tell us what these terms mean and what the uses are for these technologies? What do the terms neural networks and hive mind mean? Are we going to have to worry now about some sort of human integration of AI? Is this what Elon Musk's neural implant is all about? Thank you, Sean. We're going to take a short break, and when we come right back, we are going to speak with Sean about what to expect in the near future from developments in AI and how we protect ourselves and our information. Stay tuned. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. It's important. Welcome back to The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. We're speaking with Sean O'Brien. He's a lecturer in law at Yale Law School with expertise in cybersecurity, privacy, and mobile device forensics. He's the Assistant Director for Technology at Yale's Office of International Students and Scholars and a PhD candidate in law at the University of South Africa. He founded Yale's Privacy Lab in 2017, an initiative of the Information Society Project at Yale Law School. Thanks again for being with us, Sean. One of the major issues related to AI in the immediate term is the problem of deepfakes. These are videos that look to be 100% legitimate that are actually completely fake. Many of them are very crude, and we see those every day on Facebook and TikTok and elsewhere, but some of them are actually quite sophisticated. How can we stop people from creating videos that make it look like, for example, world leaders are admitting to crimes on camera or taking harmful policy positions or making themselves look foolish? Another big problem, at least here in the United States, is the creation of deepfake nudes, where people, in many cases children, are made to appear to be nude in videos. In fact, these are computer-generated bodies attached to actual children, or the entire image is computer-generated. And it's a crime. So how do we protect ourselves and our children from this kind of activity? So how do we protect ourselves and our children from this kind of activity? Thanks again for being with us, Sean. We even talk about militaries and their development of AI, but what role should academia have? How can these outside substantive experts be helpful? Finally, Sean, I want to get back to this crazy story that I told in the introduction. Tech blogger Lucas Rizzuto programmed a microwave oven that later tried to kill him. Well, we've all seen the movie I, Robot. The prime directive is supposed to be to not harm human life. Is that just in Hollywood? Is AI something that should cause us to fear for our safety if it's not regulated? Is AI something that should cause us to fear for our safety if it's not regulated? Thank you, Sean, for letting... why did I write it like that? Okay, I'll change a word. Thank you, Sean, for letting us... Yeah, that doesn't work either. Thank you, Sean, for explaining to us this marvelous and sometimes scary world of AI. Just about everybody involved in the development of AI supports some form of government intervention and regulation. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has said that AI could design biological pathogens. It could hack into computer systems. Meta CEO Elon Musk said that AI's development is moving too quickly to be healthy for society. The reality is that if Elon Musk is wrong about AI and we regulate it, then who cares? But if Elon Musk is right about AI and we don't regulate it, everybody in the world will care. But by then, it might be too late. I'd like to thank our guest, Sean O'Brien, for being with us today, and thank you to our viewers for joining us for another episode of The Whistleblowers. I'm John Kiriakou. Please follow me on Substack at John Kiriakou. We'll see you next time. Oh, I thought we did them. Turn to two. Thank you, Sean, for teaching us about this marvelous and frightening world of AI. Did I screw that up? Do you want me to turn to camera one? No. Okay. I see. Okay. No. I've asked AI to write all of my class evaluations and my thank you notes for the last 2 months, and it does a brilliant job. My last class evaluations, I changed 4 words. Saves a lot of work. Thank you. Fantastic, man. Yeah.
I've heard really good things about